Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to talk about things that are going on, a bit explain what's going on, and talk about things that I think that are being done right and are done wrong. This is not a typical video that I've done. This is a in custody death, but this is not an in custody death that occurred right after someone was arrested. This is an in custody death at a detention center, at a jail. There's a person who's an inmate. They've been in this jail for some period of time, and then they died while in that jail, and they were 26 years old. So there's some interesting things about this case that I thought was interesting enough to talk about. And I have seen some other videos and stuff from other places as far as prisons and jails. Very limited, and I've wanted to touch on videos on those because I think it's important enough to talk about the corrections side of law enforcement, because that's something that the public does not see a whole lot of. The public sees all these videos from the street side of law enforcement, interactions with people out in the public, the officer-involved shootings, the tasing videos, etc. There is very, very little for jails and prisons out there. There's a lot of places that can get away by not producing video to the public, by exercising parts of the law that say that videos within jails and prisons do not have to be released to the public, because by releasing those, it could be a security threat to the facility if they showed the layout of that place. I think that's kind of bullshit. I think that's a stupid fucking reasoning. Now, if it was showing video of the mechanical room and the control room and other security areas that inmates do not go into, I could understand that part. But for these jails where inmates are brought into the booking area of the jail, and then something happens there, and then they say, oh, we're not going to release the footage because of this section of the law that says, well, if we show the inside of a jail, that could be a security threat because people could figure out the layout of the jail. It's the fucking booking area. Like, what kind of fucking threat are you going to be looking at if someone sees the booking area that hundreds, thousands of fucking inmates have already seen themselves? So I think those are pretty weak arguments on the parts of jails and prisons that cite those parts of the law, and they refuse to hand over videos from inside jails or other agencies. So there may be police departments, sheriff's offices, state police agencies that have body cameras, and they go inside a jail, and if you try to get their body cam footage, they will redact that part of the footage where they are in the jail and cite that part of the law. So that is one big reason why there's not so many videos out there showing things going on inside of a jail and stuff like that. But anyway, there is a lot that goes on inside jails and prisons that I think the public would be very interested in learning about. I think that if the public really knew what goes on in some jails and prisons, they would be extremely appalled, and they would be extremely, not just appalled, but they would be fucking pissed off that their tax dollars are being wasted on some things. So as I go through these videos and do stuff, I'm going to try to find some more jail and prison related stuff, but unfortunately there's just not that much out there. But we have this one, and this one I think is of good interest. So let me hit play here and skip through some of the beginning stuff. So this is something that occurred back in August 20th of 2021. This is in Orange County, California. And this person was at the Orange County Sheriff's Department Theo Lacey Jail Facility. That's where he died, but he wasn't pronounced until he got to the University of California, Irvine Medical Center. But we all know he basically died there at the jail. Skip. So you can go to this link right here and look at their reports from the district attorney's office there in Orange County. I like how Orange County does the stuff. They will provide video and then also provide to the public these reports. They put it on a website. It's easy to search. It's easy to find. You don't have to be, fucking FBI investigator and dig real deep to find this stuff. They make it easy to find. They're very transparent. And I like that. I believe in transparency. Fully believe in open records. Anything the government has within reason that people should be able to see. Obviously, things that relating to national security, stuff like that, people shouldn't be able to see. Personal identifiable information, people should not be able to see. Everything else, the general public should be able to see what the government is doing. The people are paying for it. They should be able to see what the fuck is going on with the government. So Orange County DA, Orange County, they do a great job at this. I wish other places would follow suit and be like, hey, this is the example that's being set. It's a great example. We should all follow that example. Unfortunately, there are other places out there that do not play nice when it comes to open records. There are agencies out there that will act deceptive and fucking shady just to prevent people from getting records. Like, they will play hardball and fuck with you and prevent you from getting stuff. And it should not be like that. But you can go to there and read all kinds of stuff. And I will be reading from that report some of the stuff that's going on. So this inmate was discovered unresponsive in the barracks within that jail. And they initiated CPR by jail staff, and then he ended up being transported. So they provide just a little bit of information on this video, but it's not a whole lot. So I'm going to read to you the report from this incident. Alright, so going to this report, the beginning of it just talks about an overview of the case, their investigative methodology, stuff like that. Then it gets into the facts. So, like I said, this inmate is 26 years old. On July 26, 2019, this person was placed on felony formal probation after he was convicted of violating vehicle code sections, driving under the influence, causing bodily injury, under court case number, blah, blah, blah. On May 30, 2021, he was rearrested for a new DUI and hit-and-run offenses. On June 2nd, 2021, he was arrested by Orange County Probation for violating his probation on that case, and the court revoked his probation. So, take a look at that fact right there. July of 2019, he was on felony probation, and then on May 30, he was rearrested for stuff, and then they took him into custody on the 2nd for the violation of that probation. So he was already on probation and then ended up basically doing the same damn thing that he was not supposed to be doing. Unfortunately, that is a common thing with a lot of criminals. They get probation, they get out on a reduced bond, they get out on parole, and they end up going out and reoffending. It's sadly a revolving door for a lot of those guys. On August 6, 2021, he admitted to his felony probation violation and was sentenced to 16 months state prison. At the time of the incident in August 2021, he was housed in F Barracks, which was a large open dormitory type setting that was divided into two sides, West Wing and East Wing. Each wing was divided into an upper tier and lower tier in which multiple cubicles with bunk beds were located, with a centralized common day room that had 2 stairwells between upper and lower tiers. The cubicles were open to the day room, and the inmates could freely move about the barracks. The OCSD deputies were required to complete 1 safety check every 45 minutes and 2 head counts in every 12-hour shift. During safety check, deputies would not wake inmates up or contact them unless something looks out of place or inmates are in apparent distress. F barracks were equipped with a closed-circuit television security camera system. At the time of the incident, the inmate was assigned to Barracks F, West Side, Cube D, Bunk 11. There were 102 inmates housed in the West Side at F Barracks. On August 20, 2021, at approximately 1:21 a.m., security cameras captured the inmate walking out of his cubicle with a large, opaque plastic bag with a reddish tint, which appeared to be an inmate-made alcoholic drink. This drink is commonly known as Pruno and is made from fermented fruit and sugar, amongst other ingredients. Some other people will call it hooch in other places. There was another word I heard it referred to as. There may be others, depending on geographically where you're at, what kind of terminology is used for that. But this is a common thing within jails and prisons. They'll save stuff off their food tray, and then they'll mix the stuff together and they'll put it in a bag and set it and let it sit for a while, and it ferments and it turns into alcohol, and then they drink it and get fucked up. So at 1:21 a.m., the cameras captured him walking to the bathroom sink, filling the Pruno bag with water, and returning to Cube E, Bunk 3. The inmate and another inmate spent the next hour drinking Pruno together in the cubicle. At 1:57, deputies conducted a safety check without incident. At approximately 2:25, the inmate left for the bathroom again, filled the Pruno bag with water, and returned to Cube E, Bunk 3. At 2:40 a.m., deputies conducted a safety check without incident. Now, keep in mind that he is assigned to Bunk 11, but he goes over to Bunk 3. At approximately 2:42, the cameras captured an inmate and this inmate, I can't pronounce his name, so I'll just call him Juventino, standing in Cube G at the foot of Bunks 5 and 6. A short time later, him and the other inmate snorted Subutex, which is also known as buprenorphine, a narcotic that can treat pain as well as addiction to narcotic pain relievers. Subutex can also cause respiratory distress and possibly death when taken in high doses or when combined with other substances, especially alcohol. After snorting Subutex, the inmate and the other inmate returned to Cube E. Juventino told the inmate that he did not feel well, Juventino told the inmate that he did not feel any effects of Subutex and wanted more. At approximately 3:05 a.m., him and the other inmate left Cube E and returned to Cube G. They spoke with another inmate briefly, and they each snorted additional amount of Subutex. At approximately 3:08, security cameras captured the inmate appearing to be intoxicated and unsteady on his feet. At approximately 3:23, the deputies conducted a random head count without incident. At approximately 3:36, the inmate went to his assigned bunk, Cube D, Bunk 11, and remained there until deputies completed the head count. At approximately 3:37, the camera showed him getting in line for breakfast while appearing to be intoxicated, swaying back and forth on his feet. At approximately 3:43, they captured him getting into his bunk in F Barracks, West Side, E Cube, Bunk 3. Between 4:03 and 9:25 a.m., deputies completed 9 safety checks, approximately 1 in every 45 minutes, without incident. He never left the bunk and nobody went near him. At approximately 6:05, security cameras captured an inmate repositioning Juventino. The inmate reported that he was awakened by his loud snoring, and the cameras captured the inmate rolling him onto his side and propping his head up. That inmate reported that he had done this to allow Juventino to breathe easier and believed that Juventino had sleep apnea. That inmate reported that Juventino's snoring was not unusual or uncommon, and he did not think there was anything unusual with Juventino at this time. At approximately 10:05 a.m., several inmates tried to awaken Juventino, but he appeared to be unresponsive and have no pulse. At approximately 10:05, the inmates yelled, "Man down," and called for deputies. At approximately 10:05, 2 deputies responded and saw that he appeared to be pale, unconscious, and unresponsive. They found a small amount of blood between his nostrils and upper lip, but saw no signs of trauma. 1 deputy checked for a pulse and respirations, but none were found. And then it goes into talking about how they called for the paramedics. They start compressions, blah, blah, blah. At approximately 10:10 a.m., the medical staff arrived with a man-down bag and began to administer oxygen through an ambu-bag air valve mask, during which chest compressions were still being administered. They also administered 4 doses of Narcan, where 2 doses were administered in the right nostril and 2 administered into the left nostril. The 4 doses of Narcan had little to no effect on him. At 10:19, the Orange County Fire Department paramedics arrived. Goes into them talking about, finding him pulseless, he's flatlined, etc. The paramedics connected him to an automated CPR device that provided chest compressions and administered 4 1 milligram doses of epinephrine. The 4 doses of epinephrine had little to no effect, and he remained unconscious and unresponsive. At 10:45, the paramedics transported him to the UCI Medical Center. At 10:48 a.m., he arrived in the emergency room in cardiac arrest. He had no pulse, no signs of life, no visible trauma. He was treated but could not be revived despite being given several rounds CPR and advanced cardiac life support medications. At approximately 11:10, he was pronounced deceased. All right, so while processing the cubicles in jail, the following items were located and booked in the evidence: a white t-shirt with apparent blood, white crystalline substance, and a large clear plastic bag with approximately 2 gallons of red-colored liquid, which was suspected pruno and placed into pruno kit number 483, and rolled playing cards. During the investigation, an inmate reported that Juventino had been drinking pruno on the night of August 19, 2021. Another inmate reported that he had asked for Subutex and wanted to snort it. The inmate reported that he warned Juventino that it might make him sick because he had never taken it before. Juventino said he still wanted to try it and agreed that he would use a small amount. The inmate obtained Subutex from another inmate in Cube G and gave it to Juventino. At approximately 2:42 a.m., security cameras captured the inmate and Juventino walking over to the foot of bunks 5 and 6 in Cube G. They rolled up a red playing card like a straw, snorted the Subutex, and walked back to Cube E. Him and the inmate returned to the area, and they snorted more Subutex. At no time was Juventino ever assaulted or attacked by another inmate or deputy. Aside from the security cameras and statements by the inmates, the jail medical records revealed that on June 2nd, 2021, that the Orange County Healthcare Agency comprehensive care nurse completed the receiving screening of the inmate and noted the following observations. He was oriented to person, place, and time. He communicated effectively. He did not appear unsteady, confused, or lethargic. Denied any pre-existing medical conditions and denied any history of drug or alcohol abuse. The doctor also noted the following: no acute pneumonia, no evidence of pleural effusion, no pneumothorax, normal cardiac noted, and no active TB, and no acute cardiopulmonary disease. The jail medical records from June 2nd to August 20th indicated that the inmate did not complain of any pain or discomfort related to his death. The jail records also indicated that the medical personnel had never prescribed or provided him with Subutex. Evidence collected: unknown light color crystalline substance with a net weight of 283 milligrams. The buprenorphine Subutex with a net weight of 453 milligrams. Pruno ethanol, rolled playing card from Cube G and the cubby attached to bunk 5 and 6. Autopsy. On September 2nd, 2021, a forensic pathologist of Orange County Sheriff Coroner Forensic Science Center conducted an autopsy on the body of the inmate. The forensic pathologist stated that the preliminary cause of death was pending toxicological results and microscopic examination. On April 21, 2022, the forensic pathologist reported the cause of death to be community-acquired pneumonia along with acute exacerbation of chronic alcohol abuse. The manner of death was natural. Okay. A sample of his post-mortem blood was collected and examined for presence of drugs and alcohol. Ethanol was detected. The buprenorphine was detected. Naloxone, of course, was detected, and caffeine was detected. And acetaldehyde, I don't know how to fucking pronounce that, was detected. A sample of suspected Subutex and Pruno were examined, and the following results interpretations were documented. The white powder substance had a net weight of 453 milligrams and contained the Subutex. The Pruno kit was tested, and 0.500% ethanol was detected. His criminal background revealed arrest for the following violations: driving under the influence of alcohol, drugs, causing bodily injury; driving under the influence of alcohol caused bodily injury; hit and run, death or injury; probation violation; vandalism. So, they've seen on camera that he left his bunk area, went into a whole nother area to get his nose candy there. He was seen on camera drinking the hooch or the Pruno. He was not in his assigned bunk. He was out walking around past lights out and was observed to be swaying back and forth during breakfast. So this video does not show all those things earlier in that morning. It only shows it at 10 o'clock in the morning, right before he is found unresponsive. So, there's not a lot going on in a jail at fucking 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. In my opinion, there should have been some way to detect that there was some shit going on. But each facility is different in how they do things. So there's like, what's the best way to describe it? Each state has its own laws on standards and everything as far as jails go that prescribe things like inmates are to receive 3 meals a day, and it even goes in to say that they have to be warm meals, or that 1 meal can be a cold meal, but 2 have to be warm meals, stuff like that. It'll go into that, talks about religious services, things like that. So the laws only mostly talk about things that they have to do for the inmates, and not really talk about things about how they go about doing that. And it also does not cover like procedural things about like how the jail does stuff or how the prison will do stuff. When you look at the street side of law enforcement, there are some pretty standardized things that go on out there as far as training and procedures go. Like when you think about like a unknown risk or a high-risk traffic stop, like that's pretty standardized in a way. There's a couple different, variations of how you could do things, but pretty much if you go from California all the way to New York, you do a felony traffic stop, like it's going to be pretty fucking close, right? It's going to be pretty similar to being done. Going to domestic calls, wife and husband fighting. You go from California to North Carolina, it's going to be kind of similar how they handle that call. You're going to have two officers go there. They're going to separate man and woman, etc. So from the street side of law enforcement, there's a lot of stuff that is very similar. You could take a cop out of California, send them all the way over here to Kentucky, and aside from them having to relearn new laws and, administratively what the agency does and shit, like they could take them straight off the street and put them on the street here in Kentucky, and they would be able to basically operate almost the same as they did in California. No problems. Like I said, they just have to learn new laws and stuff like that. Jails, the way jails do stuff, like you could take a deputy working in a jail in California, Northern California, and put them in a different jail in Southern California, and it'd be completely 100% fucking different on how they do shit. So you could take someone from one part of the country and put them in the other, and some things just, they might be similar, but other things just way, way, way different. So there's no good standards on how jails and prisons operate and do things. Some jails and prisons have rules where after lights out, there's no fucking movement. Like, you're not getting out of your bunk and going out and hanging out with someone else in their bunk and walking around. Like, the only time you get up is to go to that restroom, and then you come straight back. That's it. You don't take showers at night. You just got to use the restroom to piss, shit, and then go straight back to your bunk. Other places, they may not have a rule on it, or they may have a rule on it, but nobody enforces that rule. So that is one big problem within jails and prisons. There may be rules about certain things, but some of them are never followed because of the type of staff that they hire and retain. The rules, the house rules for the jails, they all vary. So some jails and prisons will allow the inmates to walk around wearing nothing but boxers, which you'll see here in a second. Someone walks around wearing nothing but boxers. Others say that if you're going to be up walking around, you got to have your oranges on or your stripes, whatever clothing system they use there. The only time you can be dressed down to boxers is if you're sleeping in your bunk at night. Some places may even stipulate that even for males, you still have to wear a shirt. And the only time that you have your shirt off is when you're in the shower, because they do have other female staff that work in that facility and walk around and whatnot. Some places are strict on that, and that's followed to a T. Other places, even though it's a rule, it's never enforced, it's never followed. So it's hit or miss on whatever jail you go to on how things are going to be conducted, what kind of rules are in place, and whether or not those rules are being enforced or not. I don't know anything about this facility. I don't know if they have rules about people walking around with their shirts off or being just their boxers or whatever. But there are some things that you can still kind of see in this video, just especially from this freeze frame, that I want to point out. So you can see over here in the blurred spot, you see a shirt hanging off the side of the bunk over here. You see a shirt, maybe a towel, and some clothing hanging off this bunk right here. Most places, and it should be all places, have a rule against this. Why is that a rule? Because you can't see the fucking inmate when they have all this shit hanging off the side. Why do the inmates have all this shit hanging off the side? Some of them do it because they want to sleep, and because the lights that stay on all the time prevent them from easily falling asleep. Others do it because they want to hide whatever it is the hell they're doing. Whether they're snorting stuff, smoking stuff back there, doing whatever, they want to conceal what's going on. So, like I said, some places will have a rule against that, and it is followed to a T. If you got shit hanging on the bunk, it gets yanked down real quick by the staff, or the person gets moved into a disciplinary place called observation. Some people refer to it as the hole, or they just take it and leave, and then that inmate has to put in a request to get a new towel, and they have to wait all fucking shift until someone will go down to where the towels are kept and grab them one and bring it back. And so they practically have to go that whole shift without a damn towel. This bunk right here, you see all kinds of shit sitting on top of this empty bunk. I don't see anything that indicates that any inmates are sleeping on the floor, but you go into some jails and the jails are so overbooked that you have inmates sleeping on the ground because all the bunks are full. So they give them either 2 mattresses to lay on the ground, or there's these big plastic things called stack-a-bunks, and it's basically like a big snow sled in a way, and they can lay that on the ground, put their mattress inside of it, and they kind of sleep inside this little bunk kind of thing. Some places you walk into a cell and most of the bunks will be full, but you'll see like 2 or 3 top bunks that are open, and then there's like 5 people sleeping on the fucking ground. And those 5 people, they don't want to be on a top bunk because it's inconvenient to them to have to crawl up there and to sleep on that bunk. And then the person down below, well, they use that bunk as their shelf. So it's either the people sleeping on the ground, it's an inconvenience to them to get up there, or this person just isn't moving their shit and basically says, fuck you, ain't moving my stuff, you're going to have to sleep on the ground, and that's what happens. So that, to me, is a failure on the side of the jail, because they are allowing the inmates to dictate what the fuck they're going to be doing while they're inside of here, and it should not be like that at all. The jail is the one who should be dictating what the hell they're doing 90 fucking 9% of the time. About the only thing the jail should not be able to control on an inmate is exactly what they eat. I mean, they're going to give them a tray, but they can't force them to eat everything on that tray. The jail obviously can't force them to read books or anything like that, just provide it to them. So there's little things like that that would make sense that the jail's not going to force them to do or dictate how they're going to do it. But other things like these empty bunks. Okay, people sleeping on the ground, you have a choice. You can either get on that top bunk, and if there's a medical issue with that person, have medical go through that process. All right, this person should not be on a top bunk. All right, well, what about these people on these bottom bunks? What about them? Oh, you can be on a top bunk. All right, move your fucking ass to that top bunk. No, bro, I ain't want to. Okay, your ass is going to observation, disobeying staff commands. It's that simple, but some places just don't do that because they're either incompetent and lazy, they don't want to fuck with it, or they're scared. And unfortunately, a lot of jails and prisons are so hurting for staff that they'll fucking hire anybody. As long as you got a pulse and you can sign your name to a check sheet, you're hired. And when they get people like this, some people are literally scared of their own fucking shadow, and so they will never stand up to the inmates. The inmates will tell them what they're going to be doing in some places. They'll tell them, hey, go grab me a trash bag. I want to cook food. And some of you are probably wondering, what the fuck? What do you mean, grab a trash bag to cook food? So what they do with ramen noodles is they'll fill a bag up with hot water, put the noodles in there, let them soften up, or they'll make burritos using the bags. They'll put food in there, and they'll use it to roll the bag or roll the burritos and stuff like that. But that's not something that's supposed to be going on, right? You're not supposed to be handing out trash bags to people just because they want to prepare their fucking food. One, that's a waste of money on the part of the county or the state if it's a prison, and secondly, they could end up using that extra bag to cut it up and make essentially cordage out of it, or rope, which is going to be contraband. So, but there will be inmates who will fucking tell a deputy, give me a trash bag, and those deputies will do it. And it's either because they don't know any better, they weren't trained better, or they're just, they don't give a fuck about the rules. They're just there for a paycheck. They want to clock in, clock out, have no problems. They'll appease the inmates so they can just go through a shift and have no issues. Or they're legitimately, literally fucking scared of them, and they'll give them that bag because they don't want to have any problems. So, and the same thing with things that are hanging off the side of the bunk. Why is this not being addressed? Some of those same reasons. They either don't want to go in there and fuck with shit. They don't want to listen to the griping. They just want to go walk through as fast as they can, get back to their desk or whatever where they're going to be hanging out most of the time and chit chat, and then go do another round, come back and chit chat. They don't want to stay in here any longer than they have to because they don't want to deal with their whining bullshit, or because they're scared and don't want to fucking do anything because there's more of them than the staff. I'm not seeing a whole lot of other stuff that's sticking out to me. The floors look pretty good, which is hard to see when they got it all blurred out. But I do see what looks like paper bags, and these are probably from sack meals. These could be because someone gets an extra meal or snack because they're diabetic or something like that, or sometimes, people on like Ramadan, they'll get their meal in a little bag in the morning instead of having it on a tray or something like that. The kitchen prepares it, puts it in a paper bag, and then it gets delivered to them before the sun comes up. Or it could be because there was a problem in the kitchen and they couldn't make trays that day for whatever reason. They had to do a cold meal and they just made sandwiches, and then everyone got sandwiches that day. Someone could be out the court. They weren't there to get a tray, and so they end up getting a cold sack lunch, whatever. So I can see that what looks like is a bunch of paper bags right here. There's a paper bag out here that looks like they're using as kind of like a little trash can kind of thing. And it looks like there's a bunch of little paper bags under this bunk. I would consider that to be contraband or hoarding, and it's not something that I think that should be allowed. The inmates should be given a property bag to be able to keep all their stuff in, and that's what they need to be keeping their stuff in, instead of keeping these little extra little bags to keep things divided up in or store more stuff in. If you can't fit it in your property bag or keep it on your bunk, then you don't need to fucking have it. This is jail. This is not the fucking Hilton. This isn't your fucking house. You may be living there, but it's not your house. You have rules that you have to follow while you're here, and there needs to be some housekeeping rules. There doesn't need to be a bunch of unnecessary shit stuffed up under these fucking bunks and all on the floor. That is a safety and security issue, because they could be hoarding and hiding all kinds of shit among all their other hoarded stuff in there. For example, that bag of Pruno. Where was this bag of Pruno being kept at? Well, I don't know for sure, but there's a possibility, like if you see over here in this corner where all these bags and shit are kept at, it could be behind it. And so all this extra hoarded shit could be concealing something like a bag of hooch or Pruno. But as I said, each jail is different as far as the rules and what they can have. And even though there is a rule on it, it may not be followed because the staff are either lazy, incompetent, or just too fucking scared to go tell the inmate no. Alright, so enough blabbing. Let's play the video, and I can kind of talk about some things that are going on as we watch this video. So, his bunk is below this one right here. So you can't see him because of this top bunk right here. Blocks that view. This ends up being the inmate that I think that leans over and repositions the guy. If it wasn't him that repositioned it, it had to be someone here nearby. But he leaned over. He's doing something there with him. I guess he's trying to get his attention. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. Some of these other inmates are just laying around. This guy's sitting here. He doesn't appear to be doing anything. He's just, I guess, in the doldrums. But over here, you can see that, some more movement's going on. There's some more movement over here. Now, I guess they're starting to figure out, hey, there's something wrong with dude. We see at this top tier right here, we see a deputy walking in. You'll see another deputy following behind them. So this appears as though they're either doing a head check or they're walking through and doing a safety check. So head counts are different in the facilities. At nighttime, when a head count is done, most places do not require that the inmates stand up for that head count. Other places, when the head counts are done during the day, during waking hours, they will require that the inmates are standing. They'll usually say that the inmate needs to go stand at their bunk. And we can see, let me back this up real quick. All right, so I'll pause it and talk. They'll require during waking hours that the inmate be standing by their bunk and not having anything covering their head. The staff will go in there. They'll physically count each inmate. They may have a roster there, and they may call out each person's name, and the inmate has to respond in some way, like here, present, whatever. And then they'll check them off, and they'll move on to the next place and head count there. That's the type of head count that I think that needs to be done during waking hours, because that gives you the ability to visually inspect each inmate and see that, one, they're actually up and awake and they're alive, and then B, when they're standing there and they have stuff taken off their head, like they can't be wearing towels around their head or shirts or stuff around their head, take that off, and you can see signs if they've been in a fight or not. Sometimes the inmates will go into the bathroom where there are no cameras, and then they'll fight in the bathroom. So as far as shirts and stuff being on inmates' heads, a lot of them will take socks and they'll tie socks together and they'll have it wrapped around their head to cover their eyes while they sleep. Some will wrap their head with an extra t-shirt, wear it like a hat and a sleeping mask kind of thing. Others will use their actual towel. They may use ripped clothing to do this. They may get a pair of thermals and they'll rip the leg or something off thermals and get just a section of the thermal leg to be able to slit down over their face or their head and their eyes to block out the light or whatever. All that stuff needs to be removed during the head count so you can see that they haven't been involved in a fight. At nighttime, for head counts, and even not just for head counts, but at all times during the night, when the staff go by to do safety checks or do head counts, the inmate's head and face needs to be visible. They should not be completely covered up with their blankets. One, that is to verify that that person is actually there under those covers, and then B, that you can actually see their head and that they have not been injured in some way. The reason why you don't want a person covered up by all their blankets and stuff is if you think about some of the more famous prison breaks like Alcatraz and other places, what they did was they hoarded clothes or other objects, and at nighttime they put all that stuff under the blanket to give the appearance that there is a person under the blanket. And then of course the guards walk by, see a shape under the blanket, think someone's there, and move on, when in reality the person's crawling through ductwork or somewhere else in the place and is making their grand escape. So their head should not be covered. Their head should be visible so that the guards can actually see them, verify that it's an actual real person and not a a prop made out of paper mache, and then move on. And then also be able to verify that they're actually alive. So I don't know how this person looked when the staff walked through to see if they were alive or not. A lot of places, when it's nighttime and they're doing checks, the staff will just walk through really quick and then go back to where they hang out at. They will not sit there long enough to watch if there's signs of life. Sit there and watch to see if the chest is rising under this bunk. Okay, chest moving. Go to the next bunk. Look, chest moving. Go to the next bunk. Chest moving. Next bunk, chest moving. Next bunk, chest moving, etc. That takes too long for some people. They don't want to do that. Should staff be doing that every time? Technically, if it's in the policies, yes, you should be doing that every time. But like I said, that takes forever, especially in facilities where there's like 120 inmates. So if you have to, and this really depends on what the parameters are as far as when you got to do checks. If you got to do checks every 15 minutes and you got 120 inmates that you're looking at and you're spending at least 5 to 10 seconds at each bunk or at a lot of bunks just to see if the chest is rising. Some people, it's very clear that they're breathing. Hell, they're snoring, they make noise. Other people, they don't make a whole lot of noise when they sleep and they don't make a whole lot of movement. And you really got to fucking stare at them long enough to see if there's actually any movement going on. So some people may take like 10 seconds or more to verify that there's signs of life. Other people, it's very simple. Like this motherfucker's cutting logs while he's sleeping. Yeah, he's alive for sure. Next person, all right, don't see anything moving. Sit there, stare at them, and especially when it's just the night safety light turned on, you can't see that well anyway. You should really got to stare at someone and then see if they're breathing or not. So it can take maybe 10, 15 seconds at most to actually see if someone's breathing or not. So if you got checks that are done every 15 minutes, you got 120 fucking people to search. Well, hell, you could be, if you take the time to do that for every round, you could find yourself getting to the last area that you check and you're at the end of that 15-minute mark. And then you got to go right back around and do the same fucking thing over again. So sometimes it's not practical to do that, or else you'll never be able to get anything done. I think it's best to do that probably once every hour, once every couple hours, just to make sure that no one has died while they're there. All right, so we're back here at this bunk. They start to know something's wrong, and you'll start seeing more people move around. So let's watch that and talk about that. So this person gets up from over here and walks over. This guy gets up. He starts making the motions. Hey, we need help, basically. Now, I want you to pay attention to this bag right here in the middle. Boom, someone comes over there and appears to put something in it. Now, he puts something in it. They're waving, hey, we need help. We got staff coming over here, seeing what's going on. It appears as though he gives them the commands to go over here. And now this guy takes this. Why is he taking this? What is so important that during the middle of this emergency that he needs to pick this thing up and take it somewhere else? I personally think that they dump stuff in there and now he's going to go destroy it. Throw it in the bag, throw it in a bigger trash can to get rid of it. So that is the problem with large open dormitory style cells, is there's way too much freedom of movement. And this is also a lack of control over the inmates. When something like this has occurred, where it appears as though someone is unconscious, there's some type of emergency, all the inmates should be ordered to go to their bunk. If they're near this one, the other ones can be ordered to go stand right here in the middle of the room by the pole or whatever, and you stay where you're at. You don't fucking move. You stay where you're at. If you want to fucking come over there and rubberneck and or do something else, like pick shit up and walk away with it, well, your ass is going to observation. You're going to have all your shit packed up. You're going to go to that fucking place where they put people in observation, whether it's a drunk tank or it's a single man cell, whatever. And then the only thing you get is the basic intake shit. Your clothes, your cup, towel, washcloth, that's fucking it. You don't get to have your fucking Walkman, your radio, your fucking e-cig, your tobacco dip. None of that shit. Like, all that shit gets fucking taken and put somewhere else. You have all the basic intake necessity things. You don't have any of the privileged stuff. If they're in the gym or something like that and something goes on, and staff come in and there's an emergency going on, the order needs to be given that everyone goes and faces the wall. Like, does not need to be any fucking movement going on whatsoever. So this right here with people milling around and walking, like, that bugs the shit out of me. There does not need to be all this extra fucking movement. This could be a trap. They could be trying to lure these deputies in over here for this possible emergency, and because they're so used to people just walking around and movements and everything, they don't think anything of it, and then boom, they run over there. Not even have to run over there, they just kind of walk by, and then boom, surprise attack them. Whereas if the expectation is you all go to this assigned area and you don't fucking move, you stay where you're at, I don't care if you have to piss or shit, you ain't moving towards that fucking bathroom, you're sitting exactly where you're fucking at. Your ass gets up, you go into the fucking hole. If that was the precedent set, then if it was a trap and they noticed movement, they would know real quick to turn around like, hey, what the fuck are you doing? Sit the fuck down. And if they have defensive tools, pepper spray, taser, they're going to draw it and get ready. So this right here, all this extra movement and everything when there's an emergency going on is unacceptable to me. Who knows where he's probably going to destroy evidence too. So that looks like, let me back this up. So here we go with this guy with his flops and his underwear. He takes off over here. Don't know what he does with that bag. And we can see that E and F, right? Now he goes over in here into F. So is this something that's allowed to go on? I don't know. I don't know if that's something this facility allows them to do or not. If they're assigned to E dorm, are they allowed to go over to F dorm? I don't know. I would say there's probably a rule on it, like you're supposed to stay in your assigned area. So the fact that that was going on, that's unacceptable. They should not be able to freely go walk into these other places that they're not supposed to be going into. Where he goes at over here, I'm not really sure what's over here, but he kind of stays over in this area. Now everyone's just kind of watching and everything. As these extra staff are coming in, you can see that they are giving them the commands to move away, stuff like that. So that's good. There's no reason for a whole show to be over here. There are multiple deputies at this point. It don't take 6 people to perform CPR. So I think 3 people need to stay right here. That way there can be a good rotation out on chest compressions, and all the other deputies need to start moving these people out of this area and take them somewhere. Take them to a multi-purpose room, take them to the gym, take them to the library, somewhere. Line them up, escort them to where they need to go, pat them all down, put them in that place, and leave them there until the situation is resolved. And furthermore, if you're going to be moving them from this area, they go as is. They don't take time to put extra shit on or anything like that, because they could be trying to conceal stuff. So they go as is. If all they're wearing is a pair of fucking boxers, oh fucking well, you should have been wearing more clothes like the fucking rule said to, you dumb fuck. As far as camera angles go, I mean, some places you're stuck with what you got. It would be nice if there was a camera within the dorm area to be able to see in between these spaces. Some places are like that. They got good amount of cameras in the place to cover a lot of angles. Other places, they can only afford to have so many, and it's usually just one that kind of captures an overall view. And it could be that they do have more camera views. They're just not showing it and instead showing this one because it's the best overall view of what's going on. And they think that's all they need to do. So they drag him out between the spots over here between the bunks, and they create a working space. So it'd be very difficult to do all that in between these bunks. So they do the right thing, move him out there in the open to give him more space to work. So that looks like their medical staff being escorted in. Each jail will have medical staff there, some type of nurse or whatever, or a team of nurses. Usually those people are there during the day. Sometimes in some jails there is no nurse there at night. Other jails, they always have a nurse 24/7. So that's another thing that varies between place to place. Whoa. Oh, back that up. All right, so now we got a fuck ton of people here. What are all these people doing? Nothing. They're just standing around. So before the paramedics arrived, you have your what appears to be just 3 medical staff there. 3 medical staff and 3 other deputies, I think, is the most that needs to stay within this area to help provide care for this person. Everyone else needs to be given a task. All these inmates that were over here, they need to be searched. Like I said, they should have been moved somewhere, whether it be the library, the gym, inside gym, a multi-purpose room, like a meeting room kind of thing, or a day room type of deal, somewhere to where they can be locked in the room somewhere else, and be patted down before they go in there. And most definitely at this point, while they're in that room, all these other staff need to be pulling them out, either one by one or in small little groups, and taking them to the area where they perform strip searches. And they need to be strip searched and then taken to another room to be held in until they're all strip searched. And then that room that they were in needs to be thoroughly searched. So the best place to do that would be like an inside gym, because there's not going to be that many hiding places to put stuff. If that inside gym happens to have a bathroom installed in it, then that would suck, because then they could flush stuff down the drain. If you could easily shut the water off, turn that into a one big dry cell, that would be the thing to do. That way they couldn't flush any evidence. A library would be the last place I'd want to put people, because there's so many damn books in there they can hide shit in. A multi-purpose room that maybe has a couple tables and maybe a shelf with some stuff on it. Yeah, it takes a little bit of time to go through that, but at least it's better than a damn freaking library. But whatever place they were held at needs to be thoroughly searched. And they got enough people right now to go thoroughly search a fucking library. Like, you two get this shelf, you two get this shelf, etc., and go through every damn thing. That way you can fully eliminate the chances that there was anything left behind. Like some dangerous contraband that got smuggled in and it's still in there because you don't want anyone else getting a hold of it. That's what these guys need to be doing. They should be searching those other inmates and verifying that they have nothing. And then also starting a cell search within this location. Start going through each bunk and trying to look to see what's going on, seeing if there's any contraband, etc. Movements within these other three right here need to be halted. No one needs to be going anywhere. If they're within this area, they need to be told, you stay in this area, do not fucking walk out of here. Because I have no idea what's on this other area over here. There could be like a big communal bathroom over here or something, and over here, or it could be the bathroom. I have no idea. But they need to be told to stay where they're at, and then once all this is searched, boom, now they start the process with these people. They line them up, take them through strip search process, strip search them all, put them in a secured holding area, and then go through and search every fucking thing in here. Every bunk, everything. Everything gets tossed. And then they do the same thing over here. Reason being because it's all open dorm area, and they could have gotten stuff from other spots up here or whatever. Someone could have taken the contraband or whatever, tossed it up top, someone else grabbed it and went and destroyed it, whatever. The only way you're going to know is if you go back and look at cameras. Well, that could take a very long time to go through the cameras and watch every second to see what's going on. It's a whole lot faster to strip search and then search the cells themselves with a fine-tooth comb, get all that done, and then allow those people to go back into normal movements, go into recreation, go into court, attorney visits, all that stuff. Whereas if you try to lock everyone down and then go review cameras, it could be a whole fucking day or 2 whole days of reviewing cameras to try and figure out what's going on. And then you decide, oh, well, the contraband went up there. But by the time you figure out where it went, they've already been to the bathroom a couple times and now they flushed it. So definitely should have locked everything down and searched everything. Whether they did that or not, I have no idea. But they got sufficient numbers here right now to at least start that first part of it. All the ones in the immediate area being strip searched, and then start tearing this cell apart, looking for contraband. And another thing to think too, this could have been, they have no idea what's going on at this point. They don't know what he's taking. There could have been dangerous contraband smuggled in, and it could be a bad batch of stuff that has fentanyl in it, or a higher concentration of fentanyl. There could be other people affected. So there needs to be an emergency head count being conducted at this time as well. They need to send a few deputies into this bunk area. Everyone stand at your bunk. Don't give a fuck if you were the trustee at night and you spend all night mopping. Your ass is standing up on your fucking feet, and everyone's being inspected at this point. So emergency head count also needs to be conducted to make sure that people are still alive and no one else has fucking potentially overdosed. Whether or not that was done, I have no idea. So you can see that they've got the device over his chest right now, the automatic chest pumper thing. There's a name for it. I forgot what it's called. But it's a pretty cool device. You just strap it over their chest, and it does chest compressions for you. You can very faintly see it working right there. All these people wearing their fucking COVID masks. So whatever else they're doing to him, it's hard to see. I don't know. So another thing to think about too, that during this process, someone in a supervisory role is going to have to be finding someone to go with them on this transport. So someone from this shift is going to have to go in the ambulance with this person. And so that's something that the supervisor should be doing right now, or should have already been started, that process, identifying who they're going to send. So jails are, again, all jails are different. You may have some staff who are firearms qualified and others who are not. And only the firearms qualified people can go on transports. And so they may have a limited number of who they can choose from, or some jails will have everybody become firearms qualified, and so they could choose from anyone. But they should be choosing someone to go on this transport. Printing off a face sheet with the inmate's name, information, stuff like that, to be able to take to the hospital to give to the medical personnel, so they know the name and everything to fill into their registration stuff, all that good stuff. And then also for that deputy to have that face sheet with them that has their photograph and name on it. That way, if there is an escape at the hospital or something like that, they now have a form to be able to hand over to local police that has a photo on it and everything, and can be very quickly disseminated to everyone else. But really, more so, it's just important to have that stuff printed off to take to the hospital. There could also be other forms that would need to be printed off to be sent to the hospital. Authorization to, perform treatment. Some more administrative stuff like, hey, this is where you need to send the bill to. So the jail is going to have to be picking up the bill for this transport and everything. So they could send a form in saying, hey, send the check or send the invoice to this address to the attention of whoever. So supervisor, like I said, should be going through all that stuff, making notification to the people above them. Hey, we got an emergency here. We're going to have to be transporting one out, yada, yada, yada. Which it's Friday at 10 in the morning, so all the admin people should be there. They should already be knowing what the hell's going on. And he shouldn't be having to make too many phone calls. But if it was like a Saturday or Sunday, or if it was like late at night and all the admin people were not there, that supervisor would have to be making those phone calls to the next person in line. So now they have finally decided to start moving this guy out of the jail. You can see that one person at the head of the stretcher with the bag valve mask providing assisted ventilations. And then, kaboom, he goes to the hospital and they try everything they can to revive him, unable to, and they pronounce him dead. All right, let me take a quick look back at that letter, see if I missed anything that I want to talk about. No, nothing else in here. So they talked about during the law and legal analysis and all that. They talk about what is a potential charge or anything like that. And the conclusion is based on all the evidence provided to and reviewed by the Orange County District Attorney and pursuant to applicable legal principles, it is our conclusion that there is no evidence to support a finding that any OCSD personnel or any individual under the supervision of the OCSD failed to perform a legal duty causing the death of the inmate. The evidence shows the inmate died because of community-acquired pneumonia along with acute exacerbation of chronic alcohol abuse, and that the death was a natural one. Accordingly, the OCDA is closing its inquiry into this incident. For sure, I think that whoever that Subutex or whatever it was called was prescribed to, and whoever was giving it out and letting people snort it, I most definitely think that person should catch an extra charge for what they were doing. Promoting contraband would be obviously one charge that could be looked at. I don't know California law if they would be able to articulate, like, if they could charge them for trafficking or anything like that, allowing this other person to use it or anything like that. But definitely there's something that he could be charged with, and I think he should definitely be charged for that. Other than that, just some of the stuff I talked about earlier, like the shit hanging on the bunks. Like, stuff like that is not supposed to be going on. You're supposed to be able to see the inmates clearly at all times, etc. There's not supposed to be a bunch of stuff hoarded. And as I said, all jails are different. Some enforce that stuff. Some don't have rules on that stuff at all. It's just really a mixed bag anywhere you go. Yeah, that's it. If you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you have not already, hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching.